Good day, class. So as for the continuation about our discussion for counseling, I'll just going to run through the topics that we have already discussed just to, recall some of the basic knowledge that you might have forgotten. Alright, so let me just navigate this cursor. Okay. We'll just proceed to the first slides just to, give you a glimpse of the previous slides. Okay, so that starts here. So dito, it defines here the counseling. So I know naman na I have already mentioned the definition of counseling, and that is these are individuals who are focused on attending with emotional problems by giving advice and information. Let me just check if na record. Okay. Alright, so the next slide. So in Philippine setting, always remember that the development of counseling came from this religious and this superstitious belief. Okay, so aside from that, vocational guidance, this one was also created, or this movement was also created because of the issues concerning individual workers. And aside from that, in order to address with the community's challenge of the mismatched career, which is also very rampant nowadays. Merong mga students or merong mga bachelors to graduate na hindi nagmatch yung job na pinagtatrabahuan nila or yung course or yung demand ng isang trabaho, yung course na kinukuha nila is hindi naka-align. So, vocational guidance rises or was formed because of those problems existing in the community. Now, let's define scientifically the meaning for counseling. Now we have here. So, before we're going to have its definition, always remember na isa daw sa mga myth about counseling is that it only deals with disciplinary and serious mental and emotional problems. However, it does not represent the majority of the client nga gina-deal ni counselor, because dili lang man kini na mga problems ang gina-encounter sa counselor. There are a lot of problems na gina-handle ni counselor aside from this mental and emotional problems. So later on, may encounter na to ang different scopes ni counseling, which are also the problems that are being encountered by the counselors, since sila man jud ang individual or sila man jud ang professionally trained individual na mo deal or na mo atubang sa clients nga na ay specific problems. Okay, so always remember nga ang counseling, it can help with life transitions or yung mga pagbabago sa ating buhay, adjusting to new surroundings, academic problems, relationship problems, and other struggles that an individual usually encounters. That is why ang counseling class dili lang ni siya process of giving advices. Instead, it is a long-term process of assessing people to help themselves to overcome their personal conflicts, because we in ourselves, we are the one who's creating problems, or we are the one who's facing our own personal problems or personal conflicts in life. Okay, so ang counselor na slide, two parties, or it is made up of two important categories. We have here the one who seeks help, which is the client, or sila talaga yung merong struggle, or sila talaga yung merong kinahaharap na mga problema, and the one who is professionally trained. So ito na yung mga professional counselors. They are the one who undergoes training or undergoes on the job kanagong face-to-face learning jud, or face-to-face handling with different cases coming from the clients. So always remember that counseling is different. So lahi siya from casual conversation, because sa casual conversation class wala lang, dili nimo ma-feel ang empathy, ang genuineness, or this unconditional positive regard coming from the person na imong kasturya. However, if si counselor na ang imong ma-encounter or imong masturya, then you will experience this what we call professional relationship. Because kabalo mo lugar si counselor, and kabalo sila mo practice aning professional relationship. Okay, so always remember nga ang counselor dili na sila mo offer og medical prescription class, not unless ma-recognize ni counselor nga ang isa ka specific na client kailangan jud niya og medication, then he or she will discuss it with that specific concerned, or with that concerned person, or with that specific client. So if musugod si client na i-take account ang suggestion ni counselor, then the counselor will refer to that individual, or to that client, to an appropriate specialist para matagaan jud og kanang saktong tambal or saktong medication. Now, counseling, always remember that it is a help. So tabang ni siya class provided in a professional, take note with the word professional and ethical way. Now, professional and ethical way is different with each other. When you say professional, you tend to practice the concepts of being professional. You're not professional in a way nga dili ka mo disclose og private information coming from the clients. And ethical, it suggests your personal principles, or your professional attitudes, or yung values mo talaga that would extend help sa imong clients. Okay. So, ari na ta. So, let's have here our formal discussion about the goals of counseling. From the word itself, goals, it means counseling has its own vision. So, dili lang naga-exist ang counseling centers, or wala naga-exist ang counselors without mission. And later on, may bala natin kung unsa man gani ang mga goals na kina-exercise ni counseling. Okay. So, nindot kay mga pictures, no? Cute kayo. Now, we have here the 5 major goals for counseling. I need you to familiarize this one. Kaya magawas ni siya sa quiz. Lagi mo na ko quiz about ani. Now, the 5 goals of counseling pertains to this following. The first one, changing the undesired behavior. Second one, making the client realize their full potential. Third one, enhancing coping skills. Fourth one, building interpersonal relationship. And the last goal for counseling, promoting decision-making skills. So later on, iisa-isahin natin itong mga goals ng counseling. Okay, so let's go over with the first goal of counseling, which is changing. Bakit ayaw gumana? Ay, okay dala. Black kasi. Serious. Ito yung yellow. Ayun din. Okay. I'll just use this pointer. Okay, so let's proceed with the first goal of counseling, which is changing the undesired behavior. Now, from the phrase itself, diba, it suggests changing the undesired behavior. So from the word itself, changing, or this word, undesired behavior, so it pertains to a human attitude. Now, I know na lahat tayo mayroong undesired behavior. And this undesired behavior would only come up or would only be shown once we are pushed beyond our limit, or once we are pushed to the point na sobra na gani kayo, beyond the belt na kayo ang isa ka panghitabo. So in times when an existing problem is due to the client's behavior itself, it will only be resolved if the client is willing to modify behavior that hinders him or her from functioning accordingly and productively. Now, this means that each of us or clients who usually ask help from the counselors have their own problems when it comes to undesired behavior. So, meron silang iba-ibang undesired behavior. Now, what are examples of undesired behavior? So, a concrete example for that is an alcohol addiction. So, there are individuals who can't control alcoholic drinks, or who are bombarded with things like always drinking alcohol, or yun talagang hindi mapipigilan yung kanilang urge to drink alcoholic drinks. Now, another kind of undesired behavior is anger management. There are also those people na maglisod o control sa ilang emotions or sa ilang anger, which leads them to hurt others or to hurt him or herself. So, merong mga tao na ganyan or na may ganyang behavior. Also, yung tinatawag nating cigarette addiction, or basta marami pang undesired behavior na nag-exist sa ato society. And some of them are not even talked about. So, merong iba na nagtatago kasi nga nahihiya sila na meron silang ganyang behavior, and they fear judgment from the society or from other people. Now, the counselor will not be able to attain this goal without the client's cooperation, because one of the goals of the counselor is to modify the behavior of that client. So, if ever maduol si client asking help how to change his or her alcohol addiction or his or her anger management, then that client should be cooperative para ma-modify ang iyang behavior or para ma-change into a better way or into a better attitude ang kung unsa man nga undesired behavior na naa siya karon. Now, during the counseling session, the counselor will just make the client realize why that specific behavior is needed to be changed and how they are going to change it. Now, same with, for example, eating too much is a kind of undesired behavior because it will lead you to get fat or to be or to acquire some chronic diseases. Now, there are those people na maglisod jud og control sa pagkaon. Now, if you want to get thin or if you want to get fit, then that person should alter or should change his or her bad behavior towards food. And there is a specific behavior na kailangan in order to attain that specific change. For example, since di ba padayitan man jud ka na, so you need to have that patience, you need to have that optimism to see the brighter side of what you are doing now para ma-attain ang imong goal and para also ma-change ang imong mga undesired behavior. Nga so yung ana lang class ang goal ni counseling, which is about changing the undesired behavior. Okay, let's proceed to the second goal of counseling, which is making the clients realize their full potential. From the word itself, realize your full potential. Well, have you realized your full potential, my dear students? Okay, so of course, I know naman that all of us has its own potential. Merong iba early bloomers, tapos meron nga lang iba na late bloomers sila when it comes to discovering their potential. Now, there are individuals who are unable to do some task not because they really can't, but because they think they can't. So, naay ubang client class nga baba kayo ang pagtanaw sa ilang sarili, or they have low self-esteem or even self-confidence. And when you have those character, then it would be very hard for you to explore new things or to explore new way of new adventures or kanang productive nga life. Now, one of the goals of counseling is to let the client discover their full potential, because that's what the counselors do, to support the clients and to make them realize that they are worth for something, or they have the capacity to change the world. And that is one way of making them realize their full potential as an individual. In doing so, the client will be aware of his or her own capabilities, which may become worthwhile in his or her everyday living. Kasi nga, hindi lahat tayo nabigyan ng magandang experiences noong tayo ay bata pa, kaya merong iba na baba yung tingin nila sa sarili or yung wala silang tiwala sa kanilang sarili. Now, if the counselors see that you need this kind of help, nga kailangan iparealize mo ang imong full potential, then you eventually you as an individual would grow, or you as an individual would realize your productivity, your potentials, and your kanang aspirations, or unsa jud bang gani ang imong direction sa imong life. And that is one of the very nice goal for counseling. It will let you realize your full potential. Now, the third goal for counseling is enhancing coping skills. Coping skills is different from any other skills na itong ginagamit, because coping skills would suggest or typically suggest about adaptability, or if you're able to adapt directly into certain situations, or if you are a flexible individual. So some of the clients concerns are related with maladjustments. So this means maglisod sila adjust. It happens when an individual is having a difficulty in dealing with the environment's demand, especially those people who are struggling to cope with situations that they were faced with. This may include the inadaptability to adapt new environments such as school, workplace, daily living, and after losing someone you love. Now, there are certain individuals who have or who face struggles or who face difficulty in dealing with the type of environment they belong, especially if new sa ilang isa ka environment, just like sa school nato, sa workplace, or sa atong trabahoan, or sa atong daily living. Now, one of the good examples nga makaingon ko nga this type of personality has hard time with or was having hard time adjusting to new environment is the introvert personality. So like myself, I am an introvert. Now, at some point, I have been encountering difficulties when it comes to facing with new environment, such as school, workplaces, or just a typical daily living. But it doesn't mean that I cannot cope up. I can cope up or I can adapt, but it's just that it takes time, or it takes time for me to adjust. Now, counselors are there to address this type of maladjustments, or to help people cope up or train their coping skills, because coping skills are very important in becoming a productive product in our society. Same with relationships. Both of you should have these coping skills to maintain that closeness, or to maintain that bonds between the two of you. Now, let's proceed to the fourth goals of counseling, which is the building of interpersonal relationship. Intrapersonal relationship is different from interpersonal relationship. In what way? So, when you say intrapersonal relationship, class, it is a relationship within yourself, or the relationship of you and yourself or your body. Now, interpersonal relationship is a relationship that pertains to your relationship with other people. Now, this involves your friends, your classmates, your family. So, have you encountered an individual who is very aloof? This kind of person is one of the usual clients for the counseling professionals. They may be having difficulty relating with others, and this may have a huge impact in his or her marital life. In this case, the goal is to help the individual to develop a more interpersonal relationship by getting along well with others, as it is beneficial in people's success and happiness. So, if you are a person with very low interpersonal relationship, then your marital life would be at stake, because as husband and wife, you need to have that strong communication, or you need to be open with yourself or with each other. Now, if a wife or if a husband is aloof or is having that close-mindedness among the relationship or in the married life or in his or her marriage, then dili dyan na siya magdugay class. Same with persons who are having or who likes to be alone, or who are typically called as loner person. Now, this type of personality is not desirable at all, because it will not enhance your personal or interpersonal relationship with others, because as you develop your communication or your conversations with other people, your confidence or your self-esteem will be boost or maboost ang imong pagiging open-mindedness o imong confidence. And this will lead to your success and happiness in the future life. Kasi nga, the present workforce that we are having now is not limited to kanang isolation. So, dili niya gina-emphasize na ang isa ka worker, i-isolate niya iyang sarili from other people or from other workers also, because when it comes to work and when it comes to other endeavors in life, it always demands interpersonal relationship, or it demands communication with other people or with other individuals na makahelp pud sa imo mo grow as a person. Alright, now let's go to the fifth or to the last stage for the goals of counseling. And this is promoting decision-making skills. So from the word itself, decision, of course, you need to decide as to what specific opinion or as to what specific medication na imong i-follow, or specific na choices na imong i-follow sa imong or if you're given a criteria, or if ever man lang mag-decide ka sa isa ka butang. Sorry. So making decisions is a part of our everyday living. From choosing what you will eat for lunch to choosing what career you will pursue. Of course, kailangan dyan na ito mag-decide, no? Whether it is big or small, it can still affect someone's life. Some individuals are having difficulty in decision making, and at times, it affects their productivity. What counseling professionals do is that they guide these individuals until they come up with their own choice and does not decision for their clients to avoid dependence. Now, this is the good thing for counseling class, because if you're a person who has or who are struggling with decision making, then counselors will be a very good help for you, because they will train you to enhance your decision making skills, but they will not decide for you. Always remember that. you are the one, or you yourself will be the one to make your own choices. They will just give you, or they will just lay out the choices that is possible, but it's not them who will decide for you. It's you yourself na mag-decide or na mag-make up sa imuhang choices. Alright, so now that we're done with the 5 goals of counseling, let's proceed to the scope for counseling. Now, same with other professions or profession, counseling has also its own scope. Okay, dili mo good pwede na, for example, si cardiologist, manghilabot siya about brain functions or about unsaon pag-operate or unsaon pag-opera sa brain. Same with psychiatrist, dahil pag kayo na maghilabot siya about sa result sa or about sa interpretation sa usa ka cardiologist. Now this is the good thing for counseling, because each of the professions na naga-exist sa atuang society or sa institution or sa any educational institutions na naata karon, naalaw na siya scope or naalaw na siya limitation or na siya boundaries as to where or as to what point diha lang sila taman. Now let's go with the 12 scope for counseling. The first one, depression. So depression is under the scope for counseling. So this means clients who are dealing with depression are free to ask help from counselors. Stress. So kung stress ka class, pwede ka makapangigtabang kay counselor just to give you any encouragement or any kanang distressful activities. Relationship difficulties. Now, if you're a person who is having difficulties about handling relationship problems, then counseling is a very good help for you. Same with anxiety, fear, or trauma. Now, counselors, they are trained to identify as to what specific causes does an individual encounter when it comes to fears or trauma or even anxiety. So kabalo na sila class kanang kung unsa man gali nga klase nga fear nga naa ka or nga imong ginaatubang, and they can help you cope up with that anxiety and fears. So dealing with loss. So I know na losing someone you love is very painful, especially sa hingtungdan. Now, counselors can help you realize or can help you feel better, especially if you're having emotional breakdown because someone that you love is dying or is losing its life. So makatabang nato sila magpa-realize on how important our life is and how beautiful our life is. So poor self-esteem. So isa po ni poor self-esteem sa scope ni counseling, because there are individuals na baba jud og pagsalig sa ilang sarili. Same with dealing with conflict. So all of us has its personal conflict and conflicts with other people. So dili lang personal conflicts ang naata, but also conflicts with our neighbors or with our friends. So dako jud kay tabang si counseling para ani. Now we have also here substance related abuse. Now there are individuals who tend to abuse substances, like for example, marijuana or cocaine or heroin, they tend to use that kind of drug not only to attain virtual happiness or that unreal happiness without thinking na katulad ng ginabuhat nila is dili na siya maayo sa ilahang lawas or sa ilahang self, or they tend to be very abusive to their body. They're just thinking about what benefits they can get from consuming this kind of drug without even thinking the effect of this drug towards his or her health. Now, with health problems, so katong mga individuals nga naglisod og naglisod og dawat sa ilang health conditions, then daw kay tabang niya siya si counseling. Same with personal growth. So there are people or there are persons na maski unsa man na siya ka successful, ang personal growth is dili pa jud ingana ka kadako. Same with anger management and decision making. So always remember na itong or these 12 scopes or these 12 phrases are the scopes for counseling. Alright, now let's go on with the core values of counseling. So, hindi lang school ang mayroong core values. Counseling has also its own core values because it serves as their guidance or it serves as their heading point. Now, the first one or the first goal of counseling is enhancing human development throughout lifespan. So, discuss natin siya later. Second one, promoting social justice. Third one, safeguarding the integrity of the counselor-client relationship. Fourth one, honoring diversity and embracing multicultural approach in support of the world, dignity, potential, and uniqueness of people within their social and cultural context. And last one, practicing in a competent and ethical manner. Ay! Okay, so ako din yung isa-isa. Oh my God, abin ako na slide. Okay. So the first one daw, class, is enhancing human development throughout lifespan. So, this is one of the major core values for counseling because one of the main focus naman ng counseling is, of course, to help the individual attain a productive and a successful life. Now, counseling plays a very important role to enhance a certain or a specific human life, because if we are guided with the right path or with the right decisions to take, then of course, I know that we all have a productive lifespan or we all have a successful lifespan from the moment that we are born and from the moment that we become older. So, enhancing human development is the core values of counseling because we human are faced with different problems that are hard for us to cope up. Now, if counselors are there to help us, then it would be easier for us to adjust or to cope up with these problems. And if you're a person who think less about the problems and always see about the bright side of life, then it is possible for you to attain a happy and successful lifespan. Now, the second core values of counseling is promoting social justice. The society that we have today does not see how or does not see how gender inequality exists in our community. Now, I know that there are many social advocates who aims to help and ease this gender inequality, but it's just that gender inequality becomes one of the major problems that we have, especially for the LGBT community and for the woman and children community. So counseling or these counseling centers are there to help aid people realize their rights as an individual. Because if you as a person were able to know your rights, your obligations, your responsibilities, then of course during times of discrimination, I know that you can defend yourself among the or defend yourself from the discriminators or from the narcissist who's trying to step down on your personality. Now, that is one good core values for counseling because again it promotes social justice. It gives equality towards the unbalanced aspects when it comes to problems nga present sa ato society. Now, the third core values for counseling is safeguarding the integrity of the counselor-client relationship. So, gibutang jud ning safeguarding the integrity of the counselor-client relationship under core values of counseling. It's because this person or these people who's trying to ask some help from a counselor has their own personality to protect or na sila privacy na gina-maintain, and they don't want others to know nga mao ni ilang gina-struggle or na naga atubang sila ing ani na mga problema. So, counselors are trained or are expected to safeguard or to protect the integrity of his or her, or the integrity in the person and the privacy of his or her client. Alright. Now, the fourth core values for counseling is honoring diversity and embracing multicultural approach in support of the worth, dignity, potential, and uniqueness of people within their social and cultural context. Now, ito yung ikinaganda ng counseling because they are very open-minded. They would not judge a certain person by its color, by its race, by its cultural belief and practices, especially if they're having or if they're asking for help from the counselors. So, mo ni siya ang core values ni counseling. It is inclusive, so that means na maski unsa man ka na klase na tao, walay judgment na madungog nimo coming from the counselors. The fifth core values for counseling is practicing in a competent and ethical manner. So these counselors, they are also bachelor's graduate. They even have their master's and doctor's degree. And so we can say nga competent jud sila ng mga individual, not only on their jobs but on the trainings that they have para ma-address ang mga problems na ginadulog ni client. Alright, so now that we are done with the goals or the core values of counseling, let's proceed to the with the goals of counseling. Principles of counseling. So from the word itself, principles, it is a value that you believe, or it is a certain value nga imong pahalagahan. Now, counseling has also its values, and actually there are 7 principles na gina-maintain ni counseling, and we'll discuss each one of them. The first principles of counseling is autonomy. From the word auto, or from the word self-autonomy. So, it fosters the right to control directions of one's life. And that is the good thing for counseling. Counselors do not decide for their clients, but it's their clients who decide for themselves. So that is one of the principles na gina-practice ni counseling. They don't want to take over the life of a certain individual just by, asking, because in the reason nga they ask for help, they just give them possible answers to their problems, but it doesn't mean na sila jud mismo ang mo decide for their clients. Now, the second principles for counseling is non-maleficence. So it means avoiding actions that causes harm. So of course, since ang gina-aim man ni counseling is for a greater goodness, so dili jud siya magunahon og actions na makadaot sa iyang client. The third principles of counseling is justice. Justice is treating individuals equitably and fostering fairness and equality. So, we've already discussed kanina about how social justice was practiced in counseling, and isa po ni siya sa, again, important principles na gina-maintain ni counseling, because justice, or if you cannot provide justice with your clients or with the other individuals nga nag-ask og help, then dili jud siya ingana ka strong, because justice is very important in dealing with other conflicts nga naata sa atoang community, because it promotes equality and fairness among individuals, whether you are rich, you are poor, or you are a bachelor's degree holder, or just a typical ordinary person. So justice must prevail. The fourth principles of counseling is beneficence, from the word benefits. So it means beneficence nagasuggest or pertains to working for the good of the individual and society by promoting mental health and well-being. So therefore, counseling always look on the mental health and well-being of the individual and their society. So, buutan kayo ang mga counselors class because they always prioritize the mental health and well-being of their clients and of course to the society with which these clients or with which these individuals belong. Now, the fifth principles of counseling is fidelity. So, fidelity suggests or pertains to honoring commitments and keeping promises, including fulfilling one's responsibilities and trust. So, in other words, fidelity is a way of kanang keeping your secrets or keeping or fulfilling that trust na imong nahatag sa isa ka tao. So kasi nga sa counseling, of course naman dyan ay client class nga dili sila gusto ma-disclose ang ilang information or ma-disclose ang ilang identity. Now, of course, the counselor need to always think nga ang katong client nagasalig sa ilaha. Therefore, dili sila pwede na ma-fail or dili sila pwede na ma-break ang promise na ilang na hatag kay client. Same with this principle, the professional relationship. Always remember class na ang gina-exercise ni client ni counselor among his or her patients or his or her client is a professional relationship. Professional relationship siya in a way nga they both respect each other or they practice ethical manners or code of conduct nga silang duha maka-benefit pod. Bali, dili jud siya ingon na intimate relationship kay work for lovers lang man na basta gina-practice lang jud niya kay professional relationship. Kay kung unsa lang problema na ilang or ang nga ilang kailangang i-address, mao ra pud to ang mao jud tagaan nila og attention. Now, the last principles of counseling is veracity. Veracity pertains to dealing truthfully with individuals with whom counselors come into professional contact. So this means ito yung pagiging makatotohanan ni counselors. This means na counselors should be genuine with the client or he should be truthful sa client na yung ma-encounter para mosalig jud pud si client saya about telling his or her problems para ma-address jud ang problem na naga-exist. Alright, so now we are done with discussing the topic or the first topic for our chapter 2, which is all about the disciplines of counseling. So this will be the last slide. So if you have any other questions, you can just message me on our group chat or PM me directly. So may you all have a blessed day, my dear students. Bye bye.